In today's video, I'm going to be going through some of my new Daniel Smith watercolour tubes. I got 3 brand new colours to show you that I absolutely love. I'm going to be painting some ballerina slippers in these colours today as well. The first colour I've got is Quinacridone Rose. I love this, it's such a gorgeous bright pink colour. I've also got Hansa Yellow Deep, so this is a gorgeous warm yellow colour. It's a mid yellow, it's really nice and I love it. I've also got another Quinacridone colour, and this is the first time I've used Quinacridones, so I love how vibrant they are, so I couldn't wait to share this with you today. And this is Quinacridone Magenta, so it's a bright purpley pink colour. It's really gorgeous. I'll also be using a Winsor & Newton colour today, so this is the Dioxazine Violet, and it's a Winsor Violet colour and it's in the professional range. I'll leave a link to the reference photo of these ballerina shoes down below for you, so you can go and find that in my description box if you want to print it off and trace over it or draw it or just copy it from a phone or a tablet. Then you've got that picture down below for you. I'll leave links to these paint colours down below for you as well, so you can go and find those links in my description box. If you want to follow along with me, grab your paints and let's get started. I'm going to start off with a very diluted wash of the pink. So this is a Quinacridone Rose. I've got loads of water mixed into this. It doesn't mean that I'm going to take lots of water on my brush. I'm just going to actually swipe my brush on the side of the palette. Can you see how much water is coming out there? So there's not going to be loads of water dripping off my brush. It just means that I've mixed lots of water into the paint to get it nice and light and diluted. And I'm going to use this colour to paint the tights. So I was really unsure what colour to paint the tights in. To me they look white, but actually if you look a bit closer there's quite a few colours mixed into those tights. I can see grey, I can see a little bit of blue. So this is just a light wash going on, and you can see, even though this is really diluted, how vibrant that colour is. So I love this colour. It's a lovely colour to use on flowers. It's also a lovely colour to use on animals, and if you love vibrant colours, I would definitely recommend this one because it is such a lovely vibrant colour. You can see that my outlines are really dark, and I don't normally do my outlines this dark. I've only done them dark today because I want you to be able to see them. So I'm just using the tip of my brush. If you're wondering what brush I'm using, I'm actually using a silver black velvet brush, and this is a size 12. I love the big brushes. They're very versatile. They hold a lot of water, so I don't have to keep dipping my brush in and out of my paint, and I can also cover quite large areas by using the belly of the brush as well. What I love about Daniel Smith watercolours as well is the quality is just so nice. This paper that I'm using here is not the greatest paper. It is a Winsor & Newton paper, but it's a wood pulp paper, so it's not a cotton paper, and I'm actually surprised by how nice this paint is going on. I think the paint does make a big difference as well to the results of your painting. I love that these Daniel Smith tubes will also go a really long way, because even though I've added a lot of water to this, you can still see the paint, and you can see that it's going to go a long way. I've just used the tiniest little smidge from my tube on my palette. I'll show you how much I used. Literally the tiniest little smidge. So I'm going to leave this to dry completely now, and then we'll move on to the next stage. This is going to be a new series on my channel, so I will be posting one of these every fortnight because I've got this big box of colours and I've got more on the way as well. And I personally love watching videos like that, so I'm going to post on a Saturday at 6 o'clock. So make sure that you hit the bell notification and subscribe so you don't miss any of those future videos from me. I've got the Hansa Yellow now, and I've put lots of water into this as well. The Hansa Yellow is very intense, so you do have to add quite a lot of water to this if you want to have a nice subtle feel to it. What I love about the Hansa Yellow is, like I said, it's intense, so that tube is just going to last a really long time. I'm going to paint this yellow here on the ballet slipper, and the reason for that is, if you have a look at the reference photo, the front of the ballet slipper looks slightly orange tinged, so I want to paint yellow and then I'll paint the pink on top. So I'm going to take that yellow all the way up the side of the slipper as well. I'm avoiding the back of the slipper.
I'm going to take a damp brush and I'm just going to blend that edge out because I want to keep that edge nice and soft. I'm also going to paint this yellow onto the straps here. I've painted this reference before and it took me a while because I painted lots of different colours into it. So I used blues, also used grey and violet and pink. And because this is a review of these colours, I really wanted to use these 3 colours within my painting.
Can I just ask a favour? If you're getting any enjoyment from this video, please will you give me a like? It helps my channel to grow. What it does is it tells YouTube that this is a good video, and then YouTube will recommend this video to more people.
And then I'm going to leave that to dry completely then. I'm also going to paint this yellow onto these straps here as well. So if you have a look at the reference photo, those straps are more of a peach or a cream colour. So they're not completely white and they're not exactly pink either. I'm also going to paint that yellow across that pink that I've already put down. And can you see that because I'm painting the yellow on top of the pink, it's changed that colour completely into more of an orange colour. I'm also going to take that yellow colour down this back ballet shoe. So I'm just painting it down the side and then I'm going to paint it down the front part of that shoe. There's a bit of a lovely shadow going on this shoe here. So it's very irregular. So I'm making sure that I get that irregular shadow in. So I'm just going to paint that down the front of that shoe there. And then taking my damp brush, I'm just going to blend that edge out while the ballet shoes are drying. I'm just going to take some clean water and I'm going to work on the tights again. So I'm just painting on some clean water onto this left tight. And I'm being very careful not to touch the ballet slippers. I'm just going to carefully paint that clean water up to the edge of my pencil marks. I wanted to use the Violet by the Winsor & Newton for the shadow. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just drop in a little bit of violet into these tights and just let it bleed out within the water. And because we've added water onto the paper, those edges are going to remain soft and blurred. So you're going to get a really nice soft feel with no harsh edges. I'm just going to drop that into a few certain areas of these tights just to create some form within the legs, because otherwise it's going to end up looking quite flat. So I thought I would use this purple as a shadow colour. You can always mix up grey if you would prefer, but I just thought because I'm using these 3 colours, I'll try and keep these three colours the only colours that I'm using. So it can be a bit tricky when you're trying to do that, but I thought I would give it a go anyway. So we're just going to drop that in to a few little areas. You can see that I'm still keeping the underwash of the pink remaining. I'm also going to wet this right leg. We will put a bit of the purple onto the foot area as well. I just wanted to make sure that those ballet slippers were completely dry before I went into those little areas, just in case I end up painting on the ballet shoe and I don't want any of that colour to run into the shoe. I've got a very light wash of the Dioxidine Violet now, so this is the Winsor Violet by Winsor & Newton, and I'm just going to paint that onto this this right leg, sorry. And I'm just going to paint it down the right hand side and let it bleed across. So this is a very, very light wash. I've got lots of water mixed into this. I did dab my paintbrush on a cloth before I started painting to make sure there's not lots of water in my brush. I'm taking a slightly more concentrated version now, so it's just got a little bit more paint mixed into it, and I'm just going to paint a darker shadow down the left hand side of that leg there. And then rinsing off my brush, I've just got a more diluted version so I can take it up this leg and down this area here. I've got some more of the purple and I'm going to drop it in. So it's quite, it's not concentrated, but it's got more paint mixed into it. And I'm just going to paint down that left side because it's quite a hard shadow that there. I'm gonna paint in some water, so this is clean water, and I'm going very carefully in between these straps because I don't want any of the paint to touch these straps. So I'm just going to paint 2 little areas at a time, and then taking this this violet, can't get my words out, I'm just going to dot it in really, so you can see the lovely quality and colour of that colour. I love using the dioxazine violet as a shadow colour. It just means that I'm not adding too much greys to my paintings, and it keeps everything really bright and vibrant, which I love. So I'm just dropping some of that colour in to create a bit of a shadow. There's more of a shadow where the straps meet, so I'm going to paint that underneath there as well. And I don't want that shadow colour to travel too far, so I'm just going to take out a little bit. I've got some more water on my brush now. I've got my dioxazine violet again, and I'm just going to drop that into the edges and the corner of the strap, and then I'm going to run it along the back edge as well, so it just gives the shoe a little bit of form. I'm also going to paint some water onto the front of the foot here, so just all over that pink area, avoiding the yellow straps. And I've got the dioxazine violet, and I'm going to run that down the front of that foot. So I'm going to paint that quite far down the front of that foot. You can see that I've just got a thin layer. I'm going to leave bits of that pink showing, so I do want bits of the pink showing through. I've also got a little bit of a shadow going on here. So I've just got a damp brush. I've taken out a lot of the water from my brush. It's clean as well. And I'm just sopping up some of that paint that's spreading really far. We're going to do the same on this leg. So I've got a little bit of water and I'm painting that onto this area here. And a little bit here as well. And because this paper doesn't dry very quickly, I'm just going to paint this area too. At the moment, in the UK, it is absolutely freezing. This morning I woke up and I went to take my little girls to school, and there was frost on my car and my car door felt like it was stuck. So I've got some of the violet on my brush now, and I'm going to paint that onto this area here. So I'm just painting it on, leaving little bits of the pink showing. And we got a bit of a shadow going on in the corner here as well. And then just right underneath the strap. Got some going on here. Got a shadow down the back. And then that shadow, if we paint in a concentrated area, then that will show the ankle. I'm going to paint the shadow on this part here as well, so right underneath that foot. Because we've got the back of that foot covering these tights, it's creating a shadow. So I'm going to run that along here and also a little bit up the foot. And then we are going to add a little bit here and also at the front of this shoe here where the toes go in. So I've got more concentrated paint on my brush now. And I'm just going to run that down the front of this ballet slipper here, just where it's a bit more dark. We've got the darker edge down here as well, a little bit by here, also in here too. Run it along the edge of your pencil mark. If your paint starts spidering out like it is here, all you need to do is just take a damp brush and just blend it out a little bit, just so it's not so spidery, so it's a bit more smooth. So we'll leave that to dry and then we'll come back and work on the slippers. I'm going to paint a light wash of the pink onto these slippers now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paint the back of these slippers. So you've got a lovely pink shade going down the back of the slippers. So I'm just going to paint the whole of this back shoe here. And also onto the edge. I don't really know what to call this. I call it the rim, the rim of the shoe. So I'm going to make sure that I leave a strip of white for a highlight. So I'm making sure that I just leave the white paper showing, and I'm going to leave a white highlight there. I'm going to take my damp brush and I'm just going to blend that edge out. I'm going to leave some of the yellow showing though, so I'm going to paint a hard edge on the back of this slipper here, but leaving some of that yellow showing so it looks like the edge of that shoe is a yellow tint, and it will give it a bit of a highlight then as well. So don't worry if it's a little bit irregular, that just all adds to the feel of the shoe. I'm going to take my damp brush again and just blend that edge out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint using the rose as well, the Quinacridone Rose, and I'm going to paint that down this front part here of the slipper. So I'm just painting over the yellow, and I'm just going to leave that highlight down the middle again. There is a little bit of yellow showing, but I've done that on purpose because I want to keep that highlight. And I'm just going to paint that down the front of the shoe. You can see that it's looking more pink than it is on the reference, but that's okay. I wanted to exaggerate these colours to make it look really vibrant and for you to really see those colours working their best as well. So I'm not going to paint this like a straight line. I do want it to be a bit more irregular shaped, and that is because it is a ballet shoe, so I don't want it to be just a straight line. There we go, and I've just used a damp brush there. I've got some Quinacridone Rose on this brush as well, and I'm just going to paint that down the front of this shoe also. So you can see how lovely and vibrant that colour is. How gorgeous is that? It's lovely. I think this is my new favourite colour. I love pink. I love turquoise as well. Turquoise is my favourite colour, but pink is coming up close. So you can see that I'm just painting that a very irregular shape. And taking a damp brush, I'm just going to blend that out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a very, very diluted version of the purple. And I'm going to use this on the straps here. And you're probably thinking, oh no, please don't do that, you're going to ruin your painting. But trust me, yellow and violet are opposites on the colour wheel, so they work really nicely together. They actually make each other pop when popped next to each other. You can see that those two colours are really popping off the page. But when you add one to another, so for instance I'm going to add this purple over the top of the yellow, you'll find that you'll just get a more dulled down version of that yellow. I'm going to paint that shadow colour onto this yellow here. So you can see that although that looks purple, we're actually beginning to get more of a neutral tint because it's being painted over the yellow. So it's more of a greyish violet colour. I'm just using a damp brush here just to blend that edge out. And then we will continue. I'm leaving that little strip of yellow showing in the middle. And we will continue to paint that shadow colour. I'm just going to use a slightly more concentrated purple here in the corner, where it's a bit darker to me, to my eye. Everybody sees different things, so you do your thing, you know. You don't have to completely copy what I'm doing. There's a little bit of a shadow here as well, dark shadow, and also there. I'm going to continue to paint this shadow colour on. So this is a very, very, very diluted version of the violet. And you can see that the colour is coming out a lot different on the yellow than it did on the pink. So it's much less vibrant. It's much less purple. I'm going to leave that strip of yellow in the middle there to create that lovely highlight. And you can see that by using dull colours against vibrant colours, it really makes those bright colours pop. So we still got that yellow showing through, slightly more of a dark shadow here, so I'm just going to paint that on. Using my damp brush, going in again with my shadow colour. So I do want to leave some of that yellow showing through. So this paint I'm keeping very transparent, sorry. I'm also leaving some of that yellow showing through as well, because I do want to leave that lovely highlighted area. Sure that I keep that highlighting, and then just continue with that shadow colour. And you can see how lovely this violet is for a shadow colour. So it all depends on what colour you use this over to how it comes out or how it turns out. I'm just using a damp brush. I've got a damp brush here and I'm just going to lift out some of that colour because I do want to keep that nice highlight in the middle there. I'm going to work on this back one as well. There are a few creases that I'm going to add. Area just to create a few creases. And then that shadow there is quite dark, so we're going to add a crease, a bit of a crease at the back here as well. Keeping this colour lovely and light, I'm going to paint on a shadow here. It's got a bit of a shadow going on, coming off that back foot there. Sorry, that top foot. So the back of that foot is creating a bit of a shadow. And then it is more concentrated at the top here, so it's darker, so I'm just going to add more concentrated paint. Got the shadow here, it's very light, so I'm keeping my paint nice and diluted. Leave a lot of the yellow showing through. I'm just using a damp brush. And under here as well, there's a bit of a lovely shadow, so I'm just going to drop that in. I'll also add a little creased area here, and then this one here, I can't see many shadows on this one, it's quite hard to see, so I'm pretty much just going to make up my own thing and just add a few little shadows here and there just to create a bit of form, a bit of shape. What I'll do is I'll keep those edges nice and soft by using a damp brush and just blending out some of those edges. I'm going to paint over the straps now with a very, very, very diluted version of the pink. So this is the Quinacridone Rose, and I've put lots of water into this. And the reason why I want to do that is I want to make those straps more of a peach colour rather than a yellow. I'm going to add the pink to these straps now. So I'm painting over the purple that I've put down. And what's going to happen is that purple is still going to shine through or show through as a shadow, but because we're popping pink over the top, that purple is going to become more of a pink. I'm so sorry about that, my battery ran out on my camera, so I've painted the top strap in and I've just got a very diluted wash of the pink, and I'm just painting it over these straps, so you can see that because I'm painting the Quinacridone Rose over the top of that yellow that I've put down, it's becoming more of an orangey peach colour, which is really nice actually. I love painting in layers like this. So rather than trying to mix up that colour, sometimes it's a nice idea to paint in layers so you get that colour underneath showing through, and then when you put a new colour on top, then it changes that colour completely. And this is the last strap that I'm going to paint. You can see how diluted that pink is. It's very, very light. So just painting it in, using the tip and the side of my brush, mainly using the tip really, just to get into those small details. Like I said, I love using these brushes because they hold a lot of water, they're really easy to control, they keep that point nice as well, and I can also use the tip of the brush because they keep their point so lovely. I can get some really nice control with these brushes. They can be a little bit on the pricey side, but I would rather pay a bit more for one brush rather than pay the same amount of money for a few brushes, because at the end of the day, if you're buying, say, 5 different brushes that cost a few pound each or a few dollars each, it's going to add up to the same amount of money as it does for this one brush. I'm going to paint over the front of these ballet slippers with the Hansa Yellow. So I'm just going to paint over the front because I wanted that to be more of a orange colour, so an orangey peach colour. And that colour is not the same as in the reference photo, but I've really exaggerated that colour, and that's what I wanted to do. So it's not exactly the same. I'm going to take a damp brush and just blend that out, just so we don't get a harsh edge there. I'm sorry, it sounds like I'm whistling a little bit, doesn't it? I'm ever so sorry about that. I'm also going to paint a little bit more up the side, just in some areas, and then I'm going to use my damp brush again to blend that out. I've got the Quinacridone Rose again, and I'm going to paint this all up the back of the shoe, but I am going to avoid this top area here because I want to keep that back area there. Can you see where I've drawn the pencil mark? I want to keep that nice and light, so I'm going to avoid that area, and then I'm going to paint the rest of it in this darker pink. I'm going to wet the back of this shoe now, so I'm just going to wet this back of the shoe, so this is will be the bottom of the shoe, with clean water. And if you're wondering what brush I'm using now, this is a Da Vinci Casaneo. It's a size 12 as well. I love this brush. I do mainly use this brush for applying water, only because it's nice and large. I've got some more concentrated Quinacridone Rose on my brush now, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop that into a few little areas on the ballet shoe. So I'm going to drop it in, and I'm going to allow it to bleed out in the wet that I've just applied. And that is just to give more variation really in the colour, because I love this colour. I just wanted to have lots of it in this painting. So I'm just going to paint it on the back of that shoe there. And we'll also take a little bit at the back, but I want to keep this area at the top nice and light. I've also got quite concentrated violet on my brush, and I'm just going to drop that into some areas as well. You can see some shadows on the shoe, so just point out the shadows and just paint this purple where you see those shadows. You can just drop it into the clean water and just let it bleed out. You don't have to always use grey on shadows. You could use blue or purple, because that helps to push certain things back and create a shadow as well. So because I like to keep my paintings vibrant, sometimes I do like to use purple. We'll also do the same to this ballet shoe. So I've just got the Hansa Yellow again, and I'm dropping that in. I'm painting that carefully onto the front of that ballet shoe. If you're wondering why I haven't added a rim around this ballet shoe, it's just because I forgot to draw it in. So we will come back and we will add that a little bit later on once this paint is dry. So don't worry about that for now. And then again, I'm going to paint on this water. So I'm just painting that onto the back of that shoe. I'm painting it over the yellow as well. Although I am going to avoid adding colour to that yellow, I still want to keep things nice and soft. So that's the reason why I'm painting it on there. I'm going to drop a few little pink areas here and there. So I've got my Quinacridone Rose, and I'm going to drop that into a few areas. Like I said, I am trying to keep that light pink undertone showing as well in certain areas, because I do want a nice variation in colour. And you're probably thinking, well, why hasn't she used the Quinacridone Magenta yet? And here is our chance to use it. So I just wanted to add a little bit of the magenta into certain areas of the shoe where I could see a slight hint of the purpley colour. And then I've got the violet, so I'm just going to add a few little shadows with the violet. So I'm just adding a little bit onto this back area here. There's a few little creases that are forming in the shoe, especially by here. All you need to do is just take your paint and just drop it into the wet area and just let it bleed out Don't worry if it spreads too far, just let it do its own thing. You might be surprised actually by how well it turns out. I'm going to paint it into certain areas to create creases. So here's a nice crease here and also down here, and then we're going to create a shadow on the right hand side like we did with the other shoe. While that's drying, I thought I would come up and work a little bit on the legs. So all I'm going to do is just simply paint water onto this leg here, because there is a little shadow that I just wanted to add. It's very subtle, but it will make a bit of a difference to how flat this leg is looking right now. I've got my violet, and all I'm going to do is just paint that onto this area here. It's got lots of water mixed into it, it's nice and light. But I just wanted this area of the leg to be slightly darker than it is right now. And also this back part here. And then because we've made that very dark, we're just going to really darken up this area here. So I've got quite concentrated, so I've got more concentrated violet on my brush now. I'm just painting that on, creating a shadow on the leg there. I've just got a damp brush and I'm going to blend that out a little bit just so it's not so harsh. I'm going to add some shadows now using the violet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mixture of hard lines, and then I'm going to smudge them out and blend them out with a damp brush. So I've got two brushes here. I've got my silver black velvet brush, so this is a size 6, and then I've got my Princeton Neptune brush, and this is a size 4. I've just got a damp brush, and then I've got violet on my silver black velvet brush. I'm going to add a little bit of the violet to the bottom of this shoe here, so just where the rim of the shoe is. And then I'm just going to use my damp brush then just to blend that edge out to make it nice and soft. And in between I will rinse my brush so that we got a nice clean brush to work with. I'm going to add some of the violet to this area here. So you can see there's a bit of a shadow in the middle of that shoe, and then it kind of comes up to the top here. I'm going to take my damp brush and I'm going to blend that out at the top and also at the bottom. I'm also going to take slightly more diluted violet, and I'm just going to add a few creases here and there and then blend it out with my damp brush. Just going to paint it into the areas where I think there might be a crease, and then using my damp brush just going to blend that out a little bit. Make sure that you have only just got a damp brush, because if you use a wet brush then that is going to blend that paint out far too much for you and it's going to spread everywhere. So just use a damp brush. Sometimes my brush has been a little bit wet and I've had to dab it on a cloth to take off some of the water. There are also some really nice creases here, so I'm going to paint that there, and then I'm going to just brush along the bottom of that crease so that it's got a hard edge on the top and then a soft edge on the bottom of that shadow. I'm going to do the same here, so there's a nice shadow here. And I'm just going to use my damp brush just to blend that bottom edge out. I'm going to pop one in here as well. So I'm basically just painting a line on, or a little crease line, and then just taking my damp brush and blending the bottom of that line only. I'm going to continue with some of these shadows and creases. So we've got a nice crease going on here, and you might be able to see shadows where I can't see them, so you know, you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just painting what I can see, but everybody can see differently, so you paint what you think. I'm using my damp brush now just to blend the bottom of that out. And here we've got a lovely crease going on where the shoe kind of curves around, or we've just got that really nice curve curvy shadow. So I'm going to have a hard edge on the top and a soft edge on the bottom. And I'm just going to really rinse my brush off, have a nice damp brush, not too much water, and just blend that bottom edge out. I'm also going to pop a shadow in here as well. And blend, blend, blend. And also at the bottom. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out most of the water from my brush, and we're going to have a nice dark shadow here because it is really dark. So I'm going to paint that lovely dark shadow in. And what I'll do is I will blend with my brush. Just blend some of that out a little bit. Also going to drop a little bit more pigment into this area here as well because it is quite dark, this area. And just blend it out. I'm going to continue with the shadows on this shoe here as well. The reason why I'm using my paint onto dry paper is because I want to get some nice control. So I'm going to paint a shadow down this part of the shoe here, and then I've got my damp brush and I'm just going to blend that edge out. I'm also going to paint a little bit into the crease of the shoe here. I'm going to paint this shadow in that I accidentally left out. So I'm going to follow this little crease here and make a little rim for this shoe. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint this violet and try and keep it nice and smooth. And then I'm going to take my damp brush and I'm just going to blend that out a little bit on the top. Not too much because I don't want to turn that purple really. On the edge and also at the... I've got a little bit more pigmented violet now and I'm going to drop that in. And it's come out really dark, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out some. If this ever happens to you and your paint just comes out far too dark, you can wet your brush, dab your brush on a cloth or a tissue like this to take out most of the moisture, and you can dilute some of that paint with the water. I am still learning along the way, so sometimes if you see me going wrong, it is genuine. We all make mistakes. I just don't want you to be disheartened really, so I thought I'm going to still share my tutorials because I have learned a lot in the last 2 years and my paintings have improved a lot as well. And I will if you're proud of a painting at this moment in time, keep it, and in the future you might look at it and think, I can see so many mistakes in that painting, but always be proud of yourself because that just shows how far you've come and how much you have improved. You can point out the mistakes and you can point out, I look back at some of my paintings and think, oh, wow, I was so proud of that. And I'm glad I was proud of that because although I can see, you know, my blending wasn't good and I've got cauliflower effects going on and I've got colour mismatches and all sorts going on, I can also see how much effort I put into that painting and also how much I learned by doing that painting. I still learn every day something new and I absolutely love it. I love learning. Learning's good for you. It's great to develop your brain and also your skills. So you can see that I'm just painting in some dark shadows I'm going to paint this shadow in here. Avoiding this rim. I really shouldn't have painted that violet all the way up to the rim there. I didn't mean to, I wasn't paying attention. And keep that paint in as well, because you can look back on that painting and think, yep, that's where I've made my mistake. I'll try not to do that again. Keep it as a learning reference. I'm just blending out this bottom edge with some clean water, and we'll also add a shadow here as well. I'm going to make this quite dark. Blending that out. Going to make this back edge nice and dark. And then we will take a damp brush and blend that edge out so we're not getting a harsh edge. I'm also going to darken this up here as well because this is quite dark. I'm going to leave that now. There is so much that I could add to this. I could keep going and going. If you wanted to, you could add some shadows where the toes touch the paper. I'm not going to do this today because I actually quite like the fact that there's no shadows. Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like watching watercolour tutorials, I make lots of things like that on this channel. I do things like follow along with me step-by-step tutorials. I also do watercolour tips and I show you my art supplies as well. I've also got videos where I show you around my small bedroom art studio. So have a little look. I'll leave that video down below for you as well. So if you like watching that sort of thing, you can subscribe to my channel, and all that means is if you hit the red subscribe button, you'll get reminded about me so you don't forget about me. Also, if you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified every time I post a new video. Have a lovely rest of your day. Happy painting, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.